Hey guys, it's me Iceberg, and today I'm checking out the BQEYZ Ni with a single dynamic driver, which you can get right now for about $40. So these are IEMs from the well-known company and are basically the successor to the BQ10, which I reviewed back in 2025. So yeah, they look very similar overall, but the Ni brings a new specially coated ceramic driver, which even mentioned right on the box. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Well, the Ni comes in a beautiful matcha colored box, you know, that nice matte green vibe, and here we can see the shells themselves and logo on the top, with the main features on the side, and on the back we can see the specifications with the 28 impedance and 112 sensitivity, which basically means they are easy dry on stretch for your phone or PC. Inside the box we got the shells themselves with the pearlescent faceplates and the logo on the middle, along with a metal nozzle that's quite long and 6mm wide with a single vent next to it, which is basically identical to the BQ10 shells. Next we have a 2-pin modular cable, which is great to see in the budget segment. It allows you to quickly swap between 3.5 and 4.4mm plugs, giving you a more flexibility with the sources. But be honest, in 2026 it doesn't feel that great. Like, you know, an iPhone cable, which is not very flexible and it tends to get tangled a bit. Don't get me wrong, I like this cable in my BQ10 review, but the market has become more competitive, so I would expect something better right now. Next up we have a metal case with the grey atmospheric tips with a standard bore and white reference tips with a white bore to emphasize upper mids and treble. Then there is a pretty nice leather case, cleaning brush, and some basic paperwork. Getting back to the shells, they are small, lightweight, and ergonomically shaped without any weird angles, so they fit pretty well and secure in my small ears and don't create pressure or vacuum feelings, thanks to the good ventilation. And despite that, the isolation is still decent, so they will be comfy in quiet and moderately noisy environments too. Alright, moving on to the sound, it makes sense to first look at the graph and then talk about my impressions. So here Ni leans towards a neutral bright, mild V-shaped tuning with a modest bass just for support but not for impact, and emphasize on the upper mids with the treble, giving more presence and detail to the vocals. And yeah, if you're bass head or sensitive to the upper mids or treble, just be careful with this set, because you might not like that. My first impressions of the Ni was actually a bit mixed. I started with something like Lana Del Rey, Henry Come On, and honestly, yeah, they should shine here, and they really do. The guitar at the beginning sounded incredibly natural and full-bodied, with a melodic harmonic that's exactly how I imagined it, without being too bloated or too thin. And when Lana's vocals came in, it was simply something special. Her lower registers sounded velvety and chesty, while the transition to the higher notes were smooth and effortless, like butter, creating this soft, harmonious feel. So yeah, slow melancholic tracks really suit the Ni best. The next track was Wicked Game by Chris Isaak in a live performance, and I genuinely enjoy it. Here is the instruments sit nicely on the edges of the stage, while Chris' vocals was right in the center, came through as penetrating and gentle on the highs, while staying articulate with a touch of roughness from the very bottom, without being too thick. And it all feels very cohesive within the track. However, listen to me, when I switch to something heavier, like Metallica or Bring Me the Horizon, I wasn't impressed. I mean, it's listenable, but there is a clear lack of energy in the lows, and during intense moments, everything turns into a messy blur. So I wouldn't recommend these for fans of metal, metalcore, and similar genres. While talking about the bass in details, it's honestly hard to focus on it, because it rises and decays very quickly, leaving almost no pleasant reverb, something I do really enjoy in IEMs. So for me, the bass feels a bit boring, and there is no matter of the source or tips, it's still hard to get that impactful slam where the drums, bass guitars, or synth feel swaggy. I mean, it's not completely flat, but close enough that bass lovers should probably skip this. Moving to the mids, this is where things gets much better compared to the bass. It sounds natural, correct, and very musical. I do especially like the balanced lower mids, where male vocals get enough range and articulation without becoming thin. Voices, like Johnny Cash or Leonard Cohen, sounds full, rich, and textured, while instruments like guitars have nice texture, piano sounds dense and full, and strings are very natural in the timbre. And female vocals in the upper mids are also excellent though. I listen to a lot of Lana Del Rey, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and even Tina Turner here, and they sounded lively, airy, with a beautiful shine and presence. And now I'm starting to think these Ni were really made for female vocals. However, on some bright tracks, at high volumes, the upper mids can slightly fatigue, introducing a light shrillness, but it doesn't happen on every track and won't affect everyone. While the treble here is a clean, sparkly, extended, with good resolution, which adds plenty of air, space, and openness to the soundstage. Quality-wise, it sits right on the edge of between neutral and bright, because it's definitely present and forward, especially with the cymbals, hi-hats, female vocals, and upper harmonics. On well-recorded tracks, it sounds beautiful, but on brighter, it can become slightly sharp and fatiguing. Not piercing, but enough to cause some tension. And it's probably the main drawback of this model. And the soundstaging here is moderately wide, thanks to the bright and extended treble, and has a good depth, so the instruments are placed behind the vocals nicely without overlapping. And what I do especially like is the height, where some instruments feel slightly above or below others, adding a vertical dimension and making the stage feel more alive. I mean, it's still not huge, but more on intimate and compact side compared to the higher-end models, so let's be realistic. And as for separation and imaging, it's quite stable on the calm tracks, where instruments are well separated with the pauses between and clear positioning, but once things get intense, it can lose coherence and start to smear. However, I test this in competitive games like CS2 and Valorant, and I have to say, I liked how they rendered the game space and accurately convey sound directions. So yeah, I can recommend them for budget gaming. And now let's do some comparisons, starting with the BQ10, a single dynamic driver for about $30. It's more energetic, more reshaped, and more fun, thanks to its bass boost and bright treble, which could be a bit tiring during long-term use. In this case, the Ni feels more mature, cleaner, more precise, and more comfy, so for the extra money, it's a step forward. But if you already have the BQ10 and like it, then upgrading isn't necessary. Comparing them to the Cadenza 2 with a single DD driver for $50, here we get a more relaxed, smooth and musical sound with authoritative bass thanks to the Carsto technology, which is great if you're into rock, metal, and anything that means to blow you away. However, the Ni works great with vocal-oriented genres, so the choice depends on your preferences. And then comparing them to the brand new Dunu Titan X with a single dynamic driver for about $35, the Ris also have more energy in the bass, so they sound less flat and have a bright emphasis in the upper mid-range, which might be too harsh for some. Here the Ni feels like a more mature audiophile choice for the money, where you outgrown the fun delivery and want more clarity and naturalness from your tracks. So in conclusion, the BQEYZ Ni are definitely not the best budget option or a flagship killer, but they are a solid choice for the $40, offering a very pleasant, natural and emotional sound within their genres, good ergonomics, and a decent accessory set. I mean, they definitely don't try to be for everyone and honestly show their strengths on the slow, atmospheric tracks where the mids and the highs really shine, and their weaknesses on more intense tracks where things often get a bit messy. However, considering the increased competition in the budget segment in 2026, there is no longer seem revolutionary. So I would rate them as solid, reliable, mid-tier product, around 7 out of 10, which will be a great choice for the certain type of listener, but will disappoint bass heads, fans of heavy music, or those looking for a more balanced, all-around set. Many thanks to you all for watching until the end. If you found this really helpful, give it a like and subscribe, it really helps me out. Take care, this was Iceberg, I'll see you guys in the next time, bye!